And the part that really caught my attention is when Besson said that, look, if we deregulate the economy, if we get this tax bill done, if we get energy down, then rates will take care of themselves and the dollar will take care of itself as well, end quote. That's a lot of ifs, right? And it's a pretty big laundry list, right? Can we also assume then, and it's just the way you're looking at it as well, that if they're able to get all this done, then the deficit and the debt takes care of itself as well, because that I think is the real issue.
Well, first on what they can get done, certainly they can control the regulatory burden. In his first time in office, President Trump did a remarkable job of slowing the growth in regulatory burdens on the private sector. They averaged over $100 billion a year under President Obama. They fell to about $10 billion a year under President Trump, and then they exploded those burdens under President Biden. So I think that's a fait accompli. He has the tools and an experienced team. That will happen. Will they get the kind of tax reform that generates additional growth? The 2017 bill was a very pro-growth reform of the U.S. tax code. I think there's some real headwinds there. Number one, they have other chores to do. They have to fund the government. That's not looking very easy right now. That's March 15th deadline. They have to raise the debt ceiling, and they have no path to do that right now. And those are going to get in the way of the work of coming to terms with a tax bill. And they don't have agreement on the tax bill. So far, they've made zero progress in Congress on that tax bill. So it's a schedule that looks ambitious, and it's not obvious they'll get all that done. The second problem is, even if they do, it is highly unlikely they'll make any progress on the deficit. In the best of circumstances, the gold standard would be a pro-growth tax reform that was deficit neutral against the current law, which includes some deficit reduction because the tax cut sunset. There's no one who's talking about doing that. At the other end of the spectrum, they could do no harm and not make it worse. I would be pleased if that's where they ended up. But remember, President Trump on the campaign trail promised an additional several $1 trillion of tax cuts. If they honor all those campaign promises, the deficit will widen, not close. And they're not willing to take on the spending that really is the problem. The president took Social Security and Medicare off limits. That's more than 1/2 of all non-interest spending in the next 10 years. Those are the fastest growing parts of the federal budget. So there's no plan that they have that really addresses the fiscal deficit, even if they're very successful.
Oh dear goodness! Listen, Douglas. I mean, even if we don't talk about tariffs or tax cuts or immigration, all of which could drive yields higher, right? This one thing that Scott Besson does have to do, right? Push issuance, Treasury issuance, which is at a record right now, to the right-hand side, right? Up the curve, because they're just paying too much to issue short paper right now. That is going to lead to higher yields and potentially inflation. Does that mean then that in order for Besson to get yields down, basically the only option he has left is to go, okay, Elon, look over to you and let's see how much spending you can cut?
They need to take on the spending. And the real issue is not the things that Elon Musk can touch with Doge. He's put his bullseye on government workers and the headcount on payrolls, and that may change the numbers by, say, $100 billion. But Social Security, the retirement plan in the U.S., is not expensive because it has a lot of employees. It's expensive because it sends a lot of checks. And without a reform in Social Security, which is going to grow faster than revenue can possibly grow, 5.5% a year, the deficit will widen. Same is true for Medicare, which is going to grow at 7%. Those aren't programs that Doge or Elon Musk can change in any substantial way. So the Doge is getting a lot of attention now because of its fairly heavy-handed tactics, the fact that Elon Musk is well out of the lane that was carved for him in the executive order, which was modernizing technologies. He's out shutting government offices and laying people off. So I don't know how the politics of that are going to play out, but I do know that the numbers on the budget are not going to be substantially altered.